Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We have a fairly comprehensive statement on the state of education in the country and the crisis that it is confronting Kenyan youth with. I'll read the brief statement, then my colleagues will make a few remarks and then perhaps one or two questions. And then we'll come to an end. Thank you very much. If I may start reading the statement. Crisis in the education sector. The Ruto regime is mortgaging the future of the children and youth of Kenya. The government of President Ruto is playing with fire in a systematic destruction of education at all levels in the country. Through a cacophony of ill-conceived reform, betrayal of election promises, contempt of court rulings, intimidation of critics as its modus operandi in public universities, disregard of CBS it has entered with lecturers, and an arrogant disregard of the extreme impact of its actions and omissions on learners from poor backgrounds, this government is driving learning to the brink of collapse, with the catastrophic consequences for a whole generation of our youth. The Kenya Kwanza government came into office with a blaze of pompous promises to use education as a tool to equalize children regardless of the economic status of their parents. They waxed lyrical on how new curricula would align skills and labor market requirements. They lauded the launch of a presidential task force on education as a midwife of a modern, sustainable model of funding tertiary education. What results is the country harvesting from the 2 years of their government? An inept hodgepodge of half-baked reform measures, an intelligent imposition of reforms without supporting infrastructure, personnel and resources, a vengeful rebuttal of evident failure, an attempt to use blackmail and brinkmanship to confront those telling them their efforts are more hurtful than the problem they set out to resolve. Across the country, ECD education is suffering from an acute shortage of teachers with the requisite skills and inadequate infrastructure. The contentious problem of teacher recruitment for both levels of secondary school remains unresolved. This will directly impact the nationwide quality of teaching in public schools and greatly disadvantage the children of the poor in competing for quality tertiary education compared to those attending private schools and private tuition. What the government is doing at university level represents the true crowning of managerial incompetence and juvenile vengefulness. The government has totally mismanaged the attempt at transitioning to a new university funding model. The government has reacted badly to the conservatory orders given by Justice Chacha Mwita suspending implementation of their preferred scheme. First, by selectively ignoring the court order. Then, by imposing extreme and unnecessary pain and anxiety to learners, especially from poor families. While efforts are made to examine problems with the proposed new funding model, it is only natural to maintain the status quo with the differentiated unit cost system where students make their determined payment, government honors its obligations under the capitation program, and Higher Education Loan Board releases the 50,000 shillings per student to pay for the personal and educational needs of the concerned students. What we notice instead is a government acting like a jilted miner, terminating funding in a way that is causing acute problems to both learners and teachers, intimidating and haunting out vice chancellors who tell them the truth and show them a rational retreat from the positions they are posturing with, totally ignoring the primary decency in dealing with labor relations. University staff continue to strike while the government contemptuously reneges on its obligations under a series of unimplemented collective bargaining agreements. The government continues to push for end-year exams without proper student preparations and adequate number of genuine lecturers to supervise and mark those exams. The country is staring at an epochal collapse of quality assurance in university teaching and examination. An international blacklisting of Kenyan academic credentials will have very dire ramifications and will go way beyond the era of Ruto. When seeking power, the KK team peddled pleasant platitudes and dropped nice-sounding cliches about a shared future. No one could have imagined how a team informed by ambition for office, without the capacity and attitude to build on a system that has worked through intelligent, inclusive management of transition, could visit havoc to our education system the way they are doing now. Indeed, no one could have foreseen the mismanagement we have seen in key sectors of the economy being visited upon our children's future. Any country which systematically compromises its education system has destroyed its youth, its society, and its future. We are demanding an immediate and complete withdrawal of the proposed new education model funding and a return to the old model until matters before the court have been resolved. Secondly, we demand that President Ruto's administration honors its obligations all under the existing CBA commitments to the university staff and academic unions. We further demand that the Ruto administration unconditionally releases all outstanding installments of capitation money to universities and higher education loan board loans to students. Issued at Nairobi this 14th day of November 2024. Kabando.
Okay, we look like we are. Yeah. Did I please raise your voice a little? Talk like a politician. Politician, loud voice. Have they really? And would you like to say something about it?
You know, if the problem with education was poor implementation because implementers do not understand the intention of government,